kabwera kanyire mbela message. I would like you to be, I like the way you say your name. I just wish you could say, my name is Sharon Shank of Akosa name ya class. Nyaka posting ina picture ya kazi baki. Ndia mene nyaka tu. Good afternoon, you're watching the Midday News. My name is Sharon Kalimbola. The top stories on our desk this afternoon: KWACHA constituents orphaned as court upholds nullified Joe Malanjis election victory. MWEETWA schools patriotic front over government projects being commissioned by President Hakainde Hichilema.
Water is life. Each drop counts, and each must be cherished. Our tried and tested product meets all international standards. With our smart drip technology, we aim to deliver precision irrigation designed to reduce blockage and wastage, ensuring a high yield. RenGlow, your smart irrigation partner.
The Midday News in detail. The Constitutional Court has upheld the Lusaka High Court's decision to nullify the election of Joseph Malanji as KWACHA constituency member of parliament on grounds that he did not possess a grade 12 certificate as required for one to stand as MP. Delivering the majority judgment on behalf of the bench, Judge Professor Margaret Munalula ruled that Mr. Malanji failed to produce evidence on record before the lower court judge that he did have the secondary school certificate. The court has found that the only evidence was a statement that Mr. Malanji made before court that he had a grade 12 certificate. This was in a matter in which Mr. Malanji appealed against the High Court's decision to nullify his election. And last week, another election was nullified in Kaboshi, where Bowman Lusambo expressed confidence of returning the seat. Some youths in Lusaka's Kanyama West area are calling on their civic leaders to be inclusive and involve the youths in national matters, alleging that UPND-affiliated youths participated in the just-ended National Youth Meeting that took place last week at the District Commissioner's office. Joseph Tole says he and other youths feel left out and wonder if the UPND administration is only for the UPND-affiliated members and not all Zambians. Meanwhile, Area Councillor Fred Mumba has refuted the allegations that the civic leaders in the constituency are being partisan. He says youths must understand that there are programs strictly meant for UPND youths and national programs that are inclusive for every willing Zambian to participate in.
The Zambia Statistics Agency ZAMSTAT's data shows that over 50% of the country's population are youths, which means that the nation's future is dependent on them. But the state of most youths in Zambia leaves much to be desired, as many are roaming the streets due to high levels of unemployment in the country. On 26 July 2022, Lusaka District Commissioner Rose Zulu, and other stakeholders held a youth engagement meeting that took place at her office in Lusaka. The meeting was aimed at taking into account the views of the youths so as to aid the formulation of a national development strategic plan for the youths. But some youths of Lusaka's Kanyama constituency are alleging that the youths that represented the constituency are all affiliated with the United Party for National Development UPND party. Therefore, youths that do not belong to the party were not represented. Joseph Tole tells Camnet News that Kanyama constituency youths highly participated in the 2021 general elections and that not only UPND votes voted for the UPND administration. Therefore, every youth, regardless of their political affiliation, must be included in national matters.
So as the councillors here in Kanyama, they are only working with the few selected UPND youths. Does it mean that if you are not UPND, you cannot work with the current government? Does it mean that if you are Patriotic Front or if you are MMD, meaning you are not part of the developmental agendas? Definitely it shouldn't be like that. Henceforth, we want to make an appeal to the area MP, Honorable Chinkuli, the area councillors here in Kanyama. Please, let kindly include everyone, all the youths. They are all yours now. Try to be patriotic as all, by all means. Don't only work with only few selected UPND youths. This is a challenge in which the youths themselves are supposed to be there in government so that they can be able to express their views. Then the area councillor is nowhere to be seen, in the sense that mostly he says that he's on the ground, but people are always complaining.
Meanwhile, Kanyama constituency member of parliament Monty Chikuli says the UPND administration is not partisan and most youths personally shun away from their meetings when called upon.
Segregate anyone. These youth programs that the government has brought on board are to be participated by each and every youth of this country. If it is in Kanyama, if we sign up for a youth program, you hear our calling of the everyone. We want to say UPND, PF, no party issues are coming in as long as it's a program for the youth. If each and every youth is supposed to participate. Now, what I've just come to is the fact that people like PF is still, heads for having lost the power. To the point that each time we go up for any gathering, any meeting, automatically they segregate themselves. They say no, yes, if you can't buy UPND,
Cherish Sibote for Camnet News in Lusaka.
United Party for National Development spokesperson Cornelius MWEETWA has dispelled claims that President Hakainde Hichilema is just commissioning projects left by the Patriotic Front administration without coming up with new ones. Mr. MWEETWA says President Hichilema is in a hurry to complete all projects because public funds have already been used. He says the projects are for the nation and not the party in power, adding that it is immature for the PF to think that it owned government projects.
It seems the backlash between the United Party for National Development UPND and the opposition Patriotic Front is something Zambians have to be accustomed to. The situation has been the same. The only difference is that they have shifted responsibilities, with the critics becoming the criticized and vice versa. Tuesday, 2nd August 2022, UPND spokesperson Cornelius MWEETWA held a press conference to dispel what he terms as false narratives being created by the Patriotic Front. He dispelled claims that government cancelled some developmental projects in order to fix the PF and advised the opposition political party against thinking that they owned the project being commissioned by President Hakainde Hichilema.
Such projects are not owned by a political party in government. They are owned by the people of Zambia through government. They are not party projects. They are not personal projects. They are governmental projects. Therefore, any reasonable party that forms government should ensure that projects left by the previous administration should be given the requisite attention to ensure that such projects are completed. The increasing appetite by the Patriotic Front to making lies their daily bread, every day telling lies to the nation in the hope of misinforming the nation so that the nation may not know the good things that the new donor administration is doing. Well, the nation knows, but they are thinking the nation may deflect the attention, therefore, to their spectrum of lies.
And Mr. MWEETWA, who is also Zambia's Minister for Southern Province, also rubbished claims that Zambia has been downgraded to a lower income country on account of poor governance by the UPND.
Zambia's GNI per capita is expected to improve. That classification was based on the PF budget 2021 and poor economic performance. So how do you, a whole party, saying you are the largest opposition party, you send your media director to go and lie to the nation? That does undermine the integrity not just of PF, but of the entire political spectrum, because those who know the truth, they will think that politicians are just jokers. And I was watching those who know, because nowadays you can't lie and get away with it. Those who know immediately sent messages to say, no, you are lying.
During the same meeting, he also disclosed the party's readiness to participate in the forthcoming KWACHA constituency by-election. Patrick Soko, Camnet News in Lusaka.
The National Association of Medium and Small-Scale Contractors are demanding to be part of the different projects that will be financed through government revenues as well as public-private partnerships. Speaking to the media in Lusaka Tuesday, Association President Edgar Siakachoma says his association is aware of the impeding resumption of works on a number of projects as announced by government last week. And Friday, Minister of Finance announced that Cabinet had taken measures to cancel some loan finance projects, while a few critical projects are being rescoped to facilitate completion of critical components only, using budgetary resources to be allocated over the medium term.
Friday, 29th July 2022, Ministry of Finance and National Planning announced that Cabinet had taken measures to cancel some loan finance projects, while a few critical projects are being rescoped to facilitate completion of critical components only, using budgetary resources to be allocated over the medium term. Among some of the projects to be financed using government revenues includes the Kenneth Kaunda International Airport, Simon Mwansaka-Pwepo Airport, Kafulafuta Dam, and the Nkana water projects. Other economically viable projects such as the Lusaka-Ndola Dual Carriageway will be undertaken through the public-private partnership model of financing. To ensure that they are not left behind like in the past, the National Association for Medium and Small-Scale Contractors have demanded that they should be part of the many projects that will now be financed through government revenues as well as the public-private partnerships.
We are saying as NAMSEC, we demand to be part of these projects, and we repeat, we demand to be part of these projects.
The association has also appealed to government agencies mandated to ensure that laws and policies formulated to allow the empowerment of local contractors are followed.
We hope that through these pronouncements that the President has made, the ministries and boards of SOEs and quasi-government organizations will quickly formulate deliberate policies which will see our own medium and small companies participate fully in various procurement processes done in these institutions.
Moving forward, the association has made several recommendations to the government that will ensure that local contractors are empowered.
On quasi-government organizations and others and like organizations to avail the annual procurement plans to the public via ZPPA portal or public media to encourage transparency and good governance. This must be mandatory and consistent for all of these organizations.
Prudence Chota reporting for Camnet TV News.
Finally, in the news, ZESCO Limited spokesperson Henry Kapata says the company is exporting electricity to neighboring countries has no effect on the nation's power supply and connectivity. In an interview with Camnet News, Mr. Kapata has disclosed that despite exporting power, ZESCO is still capable of meeting the demand for electricity both to foreign and local consumptions. He says the current deficit in power connectivity in designated areas is due to inadequate supply of electricity posed by local manufacturers, which has delayed power connection projects in some areas until they clear the backlog of previous years.
The issue of power connectivity in most residential areas in Lusaka have been ongoing for quite some time now. The complaints have been that the country's largest supplier of electricity, ZESCO, has been taking more time than bearable in connecting most residential areas to the country's electrical grid. Most calls have come from persons who have been placed on the waiting list for many years, calling on ZESCO to quicken the procedure and ensure that such areas are connected to electricity in the quickest possible time. However, it has brought concerns on stakeholders as to why ZESCO can be exporting electricity to other countries like Malawi and Zimbabwe when the nation has a backlog of residential areas which have not yet been connected to the country's power supply. And speaking in an interview with Camnet TV News, the ZESCO Limited spokesperson Henry Kapata has clarified that ZESCO exporting power to other countries does not in any way affect the local supply of power, as the country has of late produced power in excess of which some has been signed for export purposes.
And so when we are exporting power, we do it at an awkward time so that it does not affect our local people. Let's say around 02, 03, when an average Zambian may not be using that power, or a particular time when the industries are closed, so we take that power to the neighborhood and do a bit of trade. So we will never export power when we have little. We have always taken our people, our industries as a priority before we export power. So whenever we export this power around 02 or 03, just know that we have so much of that power that we will have to, excess power, we will have to export it.
He has explained that the current challenges in power connectivity in some areas is not due to power deficit in the country, but rather the inadequate supply of electricity posed by local manufacturers who have not met the demand, thus making it difficult for the company to connect as many residential areas as needed in a given time.
There's a situation. The issue of the pause, that is one of the contributing factors to the issue of the backlog. The local supplier could not meet the demand that we needed. The local supplier of poles could only meet us somewhere around 1.4%. Here's a situation where we have 80,000 poles that are needed for us to meet demand, but the local supplier would just meet us maybe 1.4%, which was not enough. This is why we had to go beyond the borders in Zimbabwe and South Africa, so that we can procure some of these poles and meet the ever-increasing demand for it.
According to the Sustainable Development Goal number 7, Zambia has a target of providing affordable, reliable, sustainable and modern energy for all by 2030. Messi Chonika reporting for Camnet TV News in Lusaka.
Well, that news item wraps up our media news. The headlines once again. KWACHA constituents orphaned as court upholds nullified Joe MALANJIS election victory. MWEETWA School's patriotic front over government projects being commissioned by President Hakainde Hichilema. Well, thank you so much for choosing Camnet TV. My name is Sharon Kalimbola. Join us again for our main news at 19:30 this evening. Good afternoon.